I don't think it's a Lukaku problem, i.e. the player. I think it's a worry how Chelsea have paid all that money for a top-class striker, but they're not using him and they're not getting the best out of him. So maybe Chelsea are trying to turn themselves into a more possession-based side. When I watched them at Inter, it was a case of the five-man midfield working hard, but loads of quality, banging the ball into Lukaku double quick way, could pin defenders, roll defenders, and use his strength and use his class, if you like. But that must have been a worry. I think overall, I could be wrong, but I think it was something like 7 touches in total, which is a Premier record low for a front man. So that's I think the takeaway from the game, how poor Chelsea were getting Lukaku in the game.
How do you explain that?
I don't know about the game because I was watching the Liverpool game, but by all accounts, it wasn't a great performance. But Chelsea got the job done in the end, and that's all they had to do. I'm not having 2 touches and a half, and one of them is kick-off. I'm not having that as Chelsea keeping the ball, because I've never known anybody, even with a possession-based team, that's telling me his movement is awful. Because you can still come short, you still make these little 5-yard runs, give and goes, it comes into your feet. All right, you have a bad touch, you lose it. Defender comes and nicks it off you, whatever. He's not making the right movement for Chelsea to play into his feet and get runners off him. If you're only getting 1 touch, apart from the kick-off, then you're not moving your backside. It's not everybody else's. It's not because people are not passing to him. It's because he's not getting into the right areas. That's the only reason it can be. As guys who've played the game, I can't get my head around how you can put yourself on the park in a position when you're playing for the dominant side that you're only able to get 1 touch of the ball.
What about the argument that Chelsea aren't set up to help Lukaku, and this proves that?
Well, that's a different argument. That's a different argument, whether they're playing to his style or not. That's nothing to do with the amount of touches that he's going to get. 1 touch, an open play in 45 minutes, is not because they're not passing him the ball. It's because he's not taking up good positions to get it into his feet. I'm sorry, but you can't play it in behind all the time when teams defend deep against you. You just can't do it. And yeah, they should be getting it wide and playing balls into the box for his strength to go and attack it more often. But if you've got 1 touch of the ball in 45 minutes since you kicked that ball for the kickoff, you're not making the right movement. It's impossible. I mean, you could run about in the field and try and do that.
Right.
You could run about and try not and touch it for 45 minutes, and it'd probably be more difficult. So
I don't know. They never passed me the ball at school.
You're rubbish.
Don.
Listen, I didn't see the game live because I was commentating on a 3 o'clock kickoffs, and that was part of the goal rush. So we've seen the goals and the action. I'd have to watch and analyse the game overall, whether it was a lack of movement from him, whether it was midfield players not giving him service.
When you played up front for Scotland and we played together, right? Yeah. And you went through, because you played at midfield and then you went up front, you played up there on your own for a bit. If you'd come in at half-time and you had 1 touch of the ball,
fuming.
You'd have been ashamed of yourself.
I would have. I'd have been fuming. I'm with you, Craig. I can't understand how you can have so few touches in a game, in a half. I don't understand it. I'm trying to rack my brain on what the circumstances were. It's bizarre.
I mean, if Manchester City, right, the top team in the country at the moment, played, say, a team in the bottom tier of English football,
right,
at the Etihad in the FA Cup, I would be astonished if their striker only got 1 touch of the ball. In a game where Man City would probably have 90-odd% possession against the 92nd team in the Football League, I'd be astonished if their striker at the Etihad only had 1 touch. I think he'd have probably more than that, easily. I said, well, I can't get my head around that. That to me is absolutely bonkers.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.